Alright, welcome to Rusty Boat Land, where if you blink, the weather changes. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk briefly about my wakazashi-ish steak, and then we're going to test the 417 layer bearded axe on a nail, and then we're going to work on my wife's knife, and hopefully I'll be winding that up in a couple weeks, we'll see. So, stay tuned! So I've had a bit of a humbling experience with my blacksmithing in that after about 30 years of on and off again blacksmithing, I should have known how carbon diffused through pattern welded steel, but I didn't, and I had to find out the hard way. After a year's worth of work on my wakazashi-ish sword, I have basically pretty junk. So what it comes down to is that I knew that that carbon diffused at roughly width of a human hair for every half hour, and I didn't think it was a big deal, because I'm like, okay, what's the width of a human hair? But when you're talking like that sword is 882 layers, each layer probably wasn't that far off from width of a human hair. I mean, close enough to where the speed of diffusion was pretty fast. So I mixed in wrought iron, which had like almost zero carbon content, with high carbon steel. And what I wound up with was probably mild to medium steel at best. So couldn't cut through a nail. It's junk. It's, as a respected blacksmith has recently said to me, it's basically a letter opener. So yeah, I've grown as a blacksmith, but the hard way. I'm going to give myself a little morale boost. I'm going to test my 417 layer bearded axe, because I'm pretty sure I know what this can do. You can see that this nail has been cut. There's part of it, and there's the other part. Okay, so I'll zoom back out. That axe cut through it. Nothing done to that blade. So my axe cut through the nail, no problem, and that little knife down there, which is the remnants of the test knife that I made before the failed quench of my sword, and the failed quench of this little test knife was because it warped, but I still, in a past video, tested it against a bolt, and it cut into a bolt without touching the blade. It turned out to be a pretty decent little mini tanto. So basically, what I have learned out of this process is that I have to depend on the materials I'm working with and not use wrought iron anymore in my mixes of pattern welding. And I can still use wrought iron as a core for high carbon pattern welding, but I just can't mix it in because as I have found out, which I should have known after all this time, but I didn't, is that that the carbon diffusion will cause even your highest carbon steel to go to the average of the lowest carbon steel. And using wrought iron means that you're going from 0 to half of whatever your best is. and made worse by with a sword. I had 882 layers, and I remember reading that that carbon diffuses at the width of a human hair per every half hour, and I thought, wow, it's no big deal. But with 882 layers, each one of those layers is probably pretty close to the width of a human hair, which means that exponentially, carbon's just going to go poof, and it's going to diffuse evenly very quickly. So I almost forgot that one of the key components of my bearded axe is that the last fold I put in subsoiler point, and that made for a good hard edge, and the carbon diffusion didn't get a chance to go totally negative the other way the sword did. So that's key to how well this blade held up. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, it is snowing. Snow in April is always lovely. We got to see what the 417 layer axe did to a nail. That was fun. Worked on my wife's knife a little bit. And pretty much next week's going to be more of the same. Working on my wife's knife and anything else I can dig up to throw on video. So till then, see you on the other side of the week. Stay well. Be good.